welcome back to Bywire Interviews. My name is Michael O'Sullivan, and I'm exceptionally pleased today to be joined by a man who has not one, not two, but three CEO roles at the same time. He is in charge of Pinax, Pomelo Grants, and of course, EOS Nation. The man, the myth, the legend, it can only be Mr. Daniel Keys. Daniel, how are you today?
Hey, Michael, thank you very much for having me back. Always happy to be chatting and for the warm introduction. On those, many hats. The good news is it's all one awesome team so it's I'm not juggling multiple teams at the same time. We're just kind of segmenting some of our businesses and excited to be leading them, excited by the progress we've been making, and excited to talk about Pomelo.
Well, we're really excited to go into Pomelo, so let's jump straight into that. So Daniel, can you tell us what's new for Pomelo Season 5?
So we're some of the new a lot of the things we're doing new in Season 5 is mostly on the you're not going to see any fancy new features like we saw last season with the introduction of collections, since the team is really now focusing on getting ready to launch bounties. So something to look forward to after Season 5. But at the same time, we're doing a lot of work, for example, clarifying rules. So, we released an article, I believe just yesterday, which was an outcome of, we in Season 4, we proposed some adjustments to the rules around self-donations. We put out a survey to the community. We looked at all the feedback we got. We analyzed the way that things happened in Season 4, and based on all of that input from the community and what we saw, we proposed some slight changes to the rules and some clarifications to existing rules, which I think is going to, again, it's not a fancy new feature, but it's going to be, I think, bring a lot of clarity to grant owners and hopefully make the experience more fair for everybody. So that's something, I think that was a big update. Another new thing that we've got, and actually related to that, it's not so much new, but more something we're expanding on. And we touched a little bit about it in that article. We'll be talking more about it in an article that we've got coming up. Some expanding the incentives around getting the community involved in self-reporting things that we see, like violations to this new self-donation rule. So one of the things we outlined, so bearing a lead here, the new rule, it's not so much a new rule, but it's always been against the rule that you can't donate to your own grant. The idea with Pomelo is that you post up a grant and the community decides whether that's valuable, and through those donations, those are matched, and we're directing funding to your grant. So to kind of help preserve the letting the community decide whether this is a valuable project, making it so that the grant owners themselves don't donate to their own grants. So like I said, that was already a rule, and we were already limiting the direct grant owner from donating to their own rule. We're expanding that now to also extend to any team members of the grant. So if you're, again, the UI should, if it's not already very soon, if you're listed as a team member on a grant and you try to donate to the grant, the UI will prevent it. At the same time, we recognizing, there's going to be grant owners who maybe don't list all of their team members on the grant. It's still against the rule. We won't be matching donations of any team members to a grant if we find that that's happening, outside of the members listed on the grant. So we won't be, and especially because it's a new rule and that it's easy to, oops, I accidentally donated to my own grant through this collection. We won't be disqualifying grants that we see that happening, but we'll be, again, watching for evidence that, these donations came from members of the team. In the post-analysis, they won't be matched. And we'll likely rely on the community to help us police this. And to help facilitate that, we're expanding something we've already been doing sort of in a pilot method, is paying out bounties to individuals who provide information that leads to action on a grant, whether it's a disqualification or an adjustment. So something to look forward to. Probably if you're a donor, you may receive some emails this season saying, "Hey, here's the have you seen anyone offering a quid pro quo? Have you seen evidence of a team member donating that we might have missed?" And we found in the little pilot program we've been doing, so we did this into a smaller degree in previous season. Actually had, it resulted in, for example, in season 4, there were a couple of grants that got disqualified because of information received from donors in the community who provided clear evidence that these grants were basically creating bounties on other platforms to have people come and donate to their grants, and they provided evidence that, yeah, this person paid me to donate to their grant, and that resulted in a disqualification. And that was information that we don't see on chain. We're not out there combing every single forum and looking for this sort of thing. So when we have, the community of donors who are out there being offered these things, providing them an incentive to report it, seems to be helping. And it's, and in the case of season 4, it resulted in two grants being disqualified. And in the future, we might see even more of that as we expand those incentives.
So the rule has always been in place, but it's not been enforced, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the rules was previously really only enforced on the UI level. It wasn't something we were factoring into the postseason analysis so much. So if you were somebody who, you're the grant owner, by default, you would be prevented from donating to your own grant. There are some things we saw, which we cover in sort of some of the clarifications here. There are instances, for example, where I'm an individual, but I also represent an organization, and I'm going to create my organization's grant with my organization account. And I also have my individual account that I'm doing donations with, and I'm going to donate to my organization's grant with. So we've clarified that that's against the rules. We recommend that if you're in a scenario where you're operating an organization account and an individual account, and you're a member of that team of that organization, list your individual person as a team member on that grant, and that will prevent you from being able to. So we'll be actually having the UI prevent those donations, so that I don't accidentally donate to my grant through a collection, or and so that makes our jobs easier as the team, because we don't have to then manually adjust it, and it means you're saving yourself, because if we do adjust it in after the fact, that 20%. So every time you make a donation to a grant, there's a 20%, basically a sort of a fee. That it's more of a disincentive to break the rules. You don't get that 20% back, and your donation doesn't get matched. So you spent 20% to not get matched. You're better off if and again, related to this, another thing we clarified, for example, is that, and something that we've seen in previous seasons, I'm an Eden. I have a grant on Pomelo. I'm also an Eden member. I'm running in an Eden election, and I'm running on the campaign that, hey, I'm going to, elect me as an Eden delegate, and the funds I receive as my budget, I'm going to donate to my own grant. So again, it was always against the rules to donate to your own grant. But what we have seen, and again, usually through this sort of, the grant was created as an organization, as an individual, they ran an Eden, they take the funds from Eden and they donate to their own grant. And the justification is, well, it's not really me donating, it's the Eden community has delegated that to me to donate to, so it's not really me. Well, we'll clarify, yes, it is you. It's, we're not going to prevent you from running an Eden on a platform to donate to your own project. That's fine. But if you take those funds and donate it to your own project through Pomelo, it won't be matched in Pomelo. You're going to lose that 20%. Maybe you're better just directly donating to yourself outside of Pomelo in that case, if that's truly what you want to do, or find other grants that don't belong to you. So there's nothing preventing you, an Eden member, for example, creating a collection of grants that aren't theirs, taking the funds they raised through Eden and donating it to those grants. That's a perfectly valid way to use your Eden chief delegate funds in Pomelo.
Okay, that all makes sense. So how did you guys come to the determination to enforce the rule for this season? Was there any kind of community engagement, any kind of community input for that decision process?
Yeah. So it's been something we've heard feedback from just sort of from the beginning, like the confusion around there was obvious. We'd see people asking, wait, so I see that in the terms it says I can't donate, but what about my team? I'm not sure. And we were seeing income, some teams were playing very conservatively and just assuming, okay, it says I can't donate to myself. That probably extends to my whole team. And they were kind of self-enforcing that. And then we had other teams that were on the other, hey, if the UI is not preventing it, it means it's okay. And so because of that, there was sort of an uneven playing field. So that was sort of kind of some signals we were getting just through feedback we were hearing in the chat. But what we did in season 4 is kind of summarize what we found, put it in an article, put it out. Here are some proposed changes to the rules based on this feedback we're hearing. And along with that, we put out a survey. And we had, people respond to, hey, here's what we're proposing. What do you think? And overwhelmingly, I would say the feedback we received was in favor of the of the rules we've set in place. It was about 50-50 on should people be allowed to donate to their own grant. We were seeing like 50% say yes, 50% say no. But even the people who were saying yes were saying, but there should be conditions on that. Either there should be a maximum number of amount you can donate, or they shouldn't be matched. And what we landed on was, let's just not match those. We're not going to disqualify you. Again, we recognize, especially with the new rule, especially that, again, with things like collections, people will just donate to everything in a collection. Oops, I wasn't listed as a team member, and now am I going to get disqualified for a simple mistake? No, but again, we encourage, if you notice that mistake, add yourself as a team member, prevent it in the future, let us know, and we'll just not count that as a match on the distribution. So
there were from season 4, and I think, this was in your article that went out yesterday. There were 2 projects that you highlighted, which is I found that really interesting, and kudos for highlighting them. It really demonstrates your attempts to be as transparent as possible, and also it plays to Pomelo's integrity. I think that's really important. So the 2 projects you mentioned were the reward distribution smart contract proxy, and then the hot source amplified. Now, both of those projects allegedly self-donated a significant proportion of their funds to their own projects. So why did you choose not to make any changes to their matching allocations for season 4? And have you warned those projects and others about, obviously, the rule change? And have you taken any kind of further action to kind of prod them and say, look, things have changed now. You need to be a lot more sensible with this.
Yep. So the reward smart proxy one is one that got highlighted on the analysis report as something that we saw that we're not taking action on. We put a kind of little flag there, and that was consistent with something else maybe we can talk about later in the show is how now we have community members like EOS support doing third-party audits. And so some of the data we share in this article came from their audit report that, there are a large percentage of the donations that went to this grant came from people they're not necessarily listed as team members on the grant, but arguably they're very closely connected to the grant. As this was sort of an Eden chief delegate initiated grant, and a large percentage of the donations were very large donations from other Eden chief delegates or L1 delegates that could potentially arguably, it could be argued that they're part of the team behind this, although they're not listed as team members on the grant. So in the article, we kind of laid out both those scenarios. What if we took action on, what if we just didn't match the ones explicitly listed as team members? And what if we didn't match this whole group that the EOS support team identified, assuming that they were correct in that these are team members? And to answer on the reason we didn't take action in season 4 is because that was our commitment to the community. When we proposed these new rules in the article leading into season 4, we said, we recognize these are new rules. It's going to take some time for the community to digest them. We want to seek the feedback. So for season 4, all we'll be doing is kind of flagging it and warning people. And then starting in season 5 is when we'll actually be enforcing them. So we didn't take any action on either of the grants. The hot sauce one is another one, which is actually the EOS Nation team are the team behind that one. It was a different degree of, they're much smaller donations, but we've got a big team. And again, there's some debate. Is it just the hot sauce team that shouldn't be allowed to donate, or is it the entire? We're up to like 50 people now on EOS Nation. So do we prevent all 50 of our team from donating to that grant because we're all belong to EOS Nation? We modeled out both of those options in the article. And this is what it would have looked like if we took either of those choices. And it's likely going to be that it's the more severe one. That sorry EOS Nation, and sorry hot sauce. We have this new rule that's now been clarified. EOS Nation team donations to the hot sauce won't be matched.
So do you think there's any conflict of interest then between EOS Nation and Pomelo being under the same leadership? And do you have to really try extra hard to demonstrate that there isn't a conflict of interest? Because it kind of, on paper, you would think there is, but your actions kind of don't really lead us to believe, I don't really feel there's an obvious conflict that I can see. So I just wondered, what kind of precautions do you take to make sure that there is no conflict? And are you cognitive of that potential?
100% are cognitive. That's one of the reasons in particular we decided to highlight the hot sauce. It's like, hey, if we're going to be calling this activity out, we better call ourselves out too. Put it out there, be as transparent as possible about it. So, is there a conflict? I think we're doing our best to avoid any conflicts, and definitely, we're for example, more hesitant to participate as a grant owner in often cases. So we waited actually a few seasons before creating any grants in Pomelo for that reason. And the grants that we have been putting, hot sauce is really the only one that's really tied to the team, and it's kind of peripheral to, there's a long list of things we have that are like, these would qualify as grants in Pomelo that we've not submitted, mostly for that, trying to keep as, to avoid any potential conflict. Since we are the ones enforcing the rules, one of the things we're kind of waiting for before we do more active participating is having the community more involved in that enforcement of the rules. So some of these things, like we're doing with the incentives, with the EOS support now as a third-party auditor, these are types of things that are making us more and more comfortable. So maybe you'll start seeing us participate more, whether it's this season or in future seasons, because we have now these kind of third-party teams watching, making sure they're holding us accountable.
Okay, so I just have one more question on the rules. So I think you touched on this earlier. There's not necessarily new rules for Eden members, delegates, chief delegates, level delegates, but there's kind of a clarification of those rules. So would you do your best succinct, clear, concise overview and tell us, as an Eden member or delegate or level 1 delegate, what do we need to know for Pomelo season 5 and hence?
Cool. Yeah. So there's a couple of clarifications, I believe, that relate to Eden. And like I said, no new rules. And we talked about the first one a little bit already, that it's whether or not you ran in a platform in Eden and, got the support of the Eden community to donate to your own grant, that doesn't excuse you from the rule within Pomelo that says you can't donate to your own grant. So again, you're welcome to participate in Eden and raise funds for your own project that's also listed on Pomelo. That's fine. But if you take the budget you earn from Eden or anywhere else, if you take any budget from anywhere as a grant owner and you donate to your own grant, including if those funds are coming from Eden, we won't match those donations. So that's the first clarification. The second one is, again, it's perfectly fine to take funds you earn through Eden to donate to projects in Pomelo, as long as they're somebody else's projects. So feel free to continue, running in Eden on a platform that, hey, I'm going to take the funds I earned in Eden and donate them to projects in Pomelo. In fact, that's the platform I ran on in the most recent Eden election. And so something to look forward to is I'll be putting together a collection using the Pomelo collections feature, and leveraging, one of the commitments I made in my Eden campaign is that the group that elected me, I'm going to represent the consensus of that group. So we together can come up with, hey, these are the grants that we believe most benefit our vision for what Eden, what needs to be done for Eden. So this is going to be an Eden collection that I'm putting together in collaboration with the members of Eden that elected me. And I'll be taking the funds that I'm delegated through Eden and donating it through that collection.
I love that. I think that's absolutely great. So have you liaised with your original group since the election to determine what kind of projects you're going to put into the collection?
I have very early, after the election, we've collaborated on, putting a statement together on here's what, this is our consensus as we see it and what we want to see Eden as a group focusing on and the process we're going to follow to come up with our, we still now the next step is continuing the conversation on, okay, what are the grants you guys want to see? So we just opened up for donations just today. I'm not sure when this is going to be published. Maybe it'll be a few days ago for your readers or for your viewers. But we're at the point now where we'll be coming up with that list together collaboratively and creating that collection.
Nice. I think that's really cool. It's a kind of a nice positive use of Eden as well. And I guess it's plays into how the worker proposal system, if it was run through Eden, could work. I think that's really cool and innovative. So well done on that. All right, let's kind of broaden out a bit. You spoke a bit previously about bounties. Now I know we're not going to get bounties for this season, but everyone is really excited for bounties. And I didn't realize that you were going to use bounties as also a way of potentially incentivizing the policing of the grants and the matching pool and stuff like that. So that's really interesting as well. So could you just speak to how the bounties will work, how they'll work as an incentive, and how they'll work with projects and solving individual problems? Yeah.
So just before that, a clarification on the bounties we've already been paying to people sharing evidence has not been through Pomelo bounties. This has been sort of a more direct, and actually would be curious to get input from the community on this. One of the things we're struggling or we're debating is how public, would making these bounties public reduce or increase the number of reports we get? Are people going to be hesitant to report a grant if they know that I'll be publicly named as the person who reported it? The bounty is going to be paid out publicly. Is that something that people, again, will take pride in, or will it be something that they're don't want to get now? Oh, now I'm going to get the team that got disqualified are now going to be angry at me, and I'm going to have to deal with that. So for that reason, for now, we've been keeping the bounties that we pay out for information private. But it's something that we're continuing to debate. As it pertains to the new bounty feature on Pomelo, this is a public bounty board, so anybody can log into Pomelo bounties, create a issue. Basically, you take a GitHub issue, you paste the link, give it a quick title and summary, fund it, say, okay, here's a GitHub issue, an easy one. I'm going to fund it with 10 EOS. It gets posted on our board of tasks, and then anybody can browse through the board, filter, search, say, okay, that looks like something I can handle, and apply to complete that task. And then the person who funded it can review all the people who have applied, decide this guy looks pretty good, approve them to do the work. And once the work is completed, the funds are released to them. So the funds are held in our smart contract. And it's designed as much as, to be as a smooth process as possible, easy, and at the same time, protecting the people doing the work, so that once you've approved someone to start work, the funds are sort of in this escrow limbo that will be released to them after that work is completed. There's no way for as a funder to like rug pull someone. Hey, great, thanks for the work, I'm keeping the money. We've tried to design it as best we can to avoid something like that. And there's a couple of ways to approach it too. So it's pretty flexible, and that as a bounty funder, you can clarify your requirements in your bounty. For example, maybe you want to actually see the work done before you approve someone to do it. Now, as a hunter, you're maybe taking a risk in that scenario because, okay, I'm completing the work, and there's no guarantee that the funder is going to pick me and reward me for it. But maybe you really trust the integrity of that funder, and you think that you got the best solution, and the requirements of that funder are to show the work before I choose you. That's an option that you can pursue. Or maybe as a funder, especially one with less reputation, you have that option of saying, hey, all I'm looking for is, send me some information about why you would be the best person for the job. I'm going to review all the applicants, pick the applicant, and then that applicant can start working the moment I approve them to do the work, and then the funds get released after the work is done.
Would there be like a review system, kind of like Fiverr, at the end of the bounty? So like the bounter, or whatever it's called, might leave a review for the buyer and vice versa.
Yeah. So that's something that we're so like leaving ratings on how good was my funder. Yeah. So that feature is not currently built, and it may not be available when we launch, just because we want to get launched sooner rather than later. But that's like, that feature is at the top of the list of the backlog on the first feature we would launch after we're released. So we want to get it into the hands of the community, start getting people to play it, start getting feedback. Building a whole rating system would extend the timeline for us to be able to get it into hands of people. But the intention is that that will be a core feature to help establish that reputation. It goes both ways. As a hunter, I want to be able to rate my funder and what was the experience of working with them. And as a funder, rating a hunter on, what was the quality of work? Well, again, what was the experience of working with them? Would be good if we can rate on multiple kind of aspects, timeliness, quality, all these sort of different aspects that play into when you're deciding who you want to work with.
Super cool, because it could be used even theoretically outside of like technical solutions. I mean, someone could
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I need a blog, I need a video created about a how-to video on how to use Anchor Wallet or something, and then you could have people applying for that. So absolutely. It becomes, it'd be like an EOS jobs board.
100%. That's the intent. So yeah, it can be technical work. It can be, I need a logo, I need an image for my blog, I need a whole blog written. Really, the only limiting factor is your imagination as a funder.
I think that's amazing. It's really cool. And it's kind of like many people in the community have been speaking about the need for an EOS-based jobs board. And I think the core reason why it's so good is it facilitates the EOS ecosystem. And that's something that I think we've all been crying out for, the ability to just transact in EOS as much as possible and not constantly have to leave and go to fiat. Okay, very, very cool.
Yeah, on that topic, sorry
Sure.
to interrupt. Like, I think, yeah, you hit the nail on the head there in terms of like bounties we see as a key element to closing that loop of keeping. Now I'm losing my words here.
EOS ecosystem,
like a circular economy sort of thing, where right now, oftentimes, let's say I create a grant on Pomelo. Maybe it starts as just an idea. Maybe I'm more business savvy than I am technical or artistically savvy, but my idea requires all of these different skills. And I was successful in raising some funds on Pomelo, and I received my funds in EOS. Now I got to pay people to do this work. How do I do that? Most people accept dollars in the world, but we have this big community of people that are active, creative, smart, technically capable, who are willing to accept EOS and oftentimes actually prefer it. So how can we bridge that gap, give people that opportunity to find the people who are willing to do work in that currency? Then you don't have to sell your EOS now to dollars and then pay in dollars. You just take the funds, create some bounties, pay it out with EOS. And this is actually key also. So something to look forward to in season 6. So season 6 is something we're planning for. It's looking very likely that it will happen, is this concept of side pools. And for the first time, it's likely, again, don't hold me to this, but what we're planning for is in season 6, we're going to have our first secondary, additional matching partners, additional to the ENF. And some of these matching partners come from, they've got their own token that they want to create a matching pool with. And perhaps this token is not as liquid as EOS. And there's some concerns around, if we have a matching pool in my token and people then go sell that token so that they can fulfill the work, that's going to have downward pressure on my token price. Not great for the token holders. With bounties, hopefully we'll reduce some of that downward pressure, because people now, rather than again selling the token for dollars and then paying for work with dollars, post up some tasks on the bounty board and pay directly with those tokens that you earned from the matching pool.
Wow, that's really incredible. So I think this whole jobs board idea is one of the most revolutionary ideas we could have in EOS, and that's really, really exciting. And so with the side pool, would that explain a bit more how that will work exactly with third-party tokens? So would the third-party token be paired with EOS? Would there be additional liquidity? In fact, why am I guessing? You just explain it.
Yeah, sure. So the way that it works is, and this is nothing new and revolutionary. We're borrowing a lot of this from Gitcoin still. Gitcoin has this concept of a main pool and different side pools. And usually these side pools are kind of more specific in the target audience, and it's a pool for a specific thing. So you got your main public goods pool that's primarily funded by ENF. And there's a specific set of criteria, rules to qualify for this pool. Has to be a public good that benefits the Antelope ecosystem. With side pools now, we're giving some power to potential future matching partners to define your own criteria for your pool. So for example, and this is just an example, let's say we want to create an IBC pool. And maybe that IBC pool is funded with UX tokens. And the criteria is, to qualify to be for a grant in this pool, you have to be building IBC technology. And maybe or maybe not, it has to be a public good. Again, that's going to be up to the person funding that pool to determine the criteria that they're interested in fostering. Now, as a potential grant owner, when I'm applying to create my grant, I'm going to, filling out my grant form, it's going to ask me, which pool do you want to join? Do you want to join the main pool? Do you want to join this IBC pool? Do you want to join this? Maybe we're going to have other L1s now that we have IBC, having, maybe the Telos pool or a Wax pool or who knows? Maybe the Telos pool says you have to be a Telos project to apply for this pool. But now as a grant owner, I have an arbitrage opportunity a little bit. I can see the main pool is full of hundreds of applicants. This new Telos pool has only a handful of applicants. Maybe I'm going to play in that pool. And maybe I have something to add to Telos, and there's a good opportunity for me to add some value there and earn some funds. And so you choose the pool you join, and then you're only earning the funds in that little side pool. So you're not going to be getting a mix of when you get matched. You won't be getting a mix of from the main pool of EOS and the side pool of, let's say it's Telos. You would just receive that matching allocation in the token denominated in that pool.
Wow. So you could theoretically have one proposal. Let's use Bywire as an example. You could say Bywire covering EOS news in the main pool, but then you could, in theory, have if Telos were interested in this, you could have a Bywire Telos grant, which is covering Telos news, for example.
Yeah.
That would work. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So you would create two different grants, and one in one pool and one in the other. And there you go. And then you're competing with a different pool of applicants. Again, there's one pool. The pie gets split among the people that are in that pool. So maybe there's different levels of competition, different levels of maturity in projects. And it opens up all kinds of possibilities in terms of things you might see start getting funded through Pomelo. Maybe there's health pool. This is for, it doesn't even have to be antelope related, where this is a pool of funds for improving access to healthcare. I don't know, just a random idea. Again, as long as there is a matching partner who has something that they want to, gather a community around and get some ideas percolating and funded, then there's an opportunity to have a side pool there. And what we're seeing, again, we've been talking to a lot of potential matching partners. They're really interested in this concept of, wow, okay, so you have a captive audience here on Pomelo. You're getting a strong signal from the audience on what are the types of things they value that they want to see getting built. I have an audience of now I can get my token into the hands of this audience that previously was not even aware that this project existed, and start seeing things built in your ecosystem, around your project. So, looking back to what Pomelo, how Pomelo has been key for EOS, going back to the great drought of EOS, sometimes I like to refer to it, where we know what we've learned with EOS is that great technology on its own isn't enough to succeed. You need an ecosystem built around it. And what we've seen with Pomelo is when you're incentivizing the right building of those key ecosystem pieces, what we've been seeing season over season is the community is getting better at self-organizing. They're getting better at building rather than working in silos on their own thing, at collaborating with each other and leveraging the open source building blocks that each other are building, which is accelerating the rate of development and making the EOS ecosystem stronger and better equipped with better tools, better resources, and a more engaged community. Every season everyone's coming to check out what's happening on Pomelo. And other projects are seeing that and saying, wow, we want that too for our project. We want to build an ecosystem around our token and our community and our project. We want to grow our community. And we think that, being a matching partner on Pomelo is a great opportunity to do that.
So if I was a donor to a side matching pool, would I donate in EOS or would I donate in the matching allocation pool's native token? So like a Telos token or what?
There'd be some flexibility there. So we would, again, another parameter that the matching partner might be able to configure in terms of what are the tokens we want to allow people in this pool to accept. We expect that they would want to be as flexible as possible. You know, if you want to get EOS community people aware and participating in your Telos pool, for example, you kind of want to allow the grants participating in the pool to be able to receive donations in EOS. And we're going to have some flexibility for the person creating the grant to, you know, here's the options you're allowed to accept. Maybe you only want to accept 3 out of the 5. Maybe you don't want to receive donations in these other 2. But again, I would say as a grant owner, it's in your best interest to keep it as open as possible, because those are all going to get matched. If you're limiting the options for people to donate to you, you have less opportunity of getting that donation matched. So yeah, you know, the matching pool is going to be 1 token. The way that we track the matching is it's denominated in dollars. So we've been doing this from the start, where when you make a donation, the donations are in EOS currently. But at the time of the donation, we track what was the dollar value of that EOS at the time. And we did that specifically with this feature in mind, that eventually we're going to be supporting multiple tokens. So how do we value those donations if they're all different values? Well, we just peg them all to dollars, or we measure them in dollars. And so, you know, as if I'm a grant that's accepting EOS, Telos, UX, a whole bunch of other tokens, box tokens, who knows, the donations get counted at the dollar value at the time I receive them, and then they get matched at that dollar in the token of the pool.
So the US dollar still remains the world's currency and reserve.
For now, until EOS becomes the world's reserve currency, then I will.
I wouldn't put it past the ENF to have a plan for that in place. That's something to look forward to. All right, let's handbrake out of this now, and let's talk about astronauts and NFTs. So
sure.
What's been happening this season with your wonderful astronauts and NFTs, and what inspired the space analogy for your NFT campaigns?
That's a good question. We've been sort of on this space track. I'm trying to think back, and when did the space thing start? It's been a few seasons now. Last season we were building. Yeah, we started in season 1 planting trees and growing pomelo fruits. And then we've started building, I can't remember now if it was season 2 or season 3, where we built rockets and went to the moon. I think that must have been season 2 or maybe season 3. And then season 4, we were on the moon and we built moon bases on the moon. And now with season 5, it's like, great, now we're on the moon, we have moon bases. What's next? We got a time to start exploring the outer reaches of space. So what we're building in season 5, and I hope I'm not spilling the beans, because this is our .gems teams, really the ones leading this NFT. So Martin is the best person to talk to about our NFT series, but we're building starships now that can explore outer space. And we're, you know, if you follow the lore now, we've got something that's kind of new this season is expanding on the lore behind this NFT season. And so the big thing that happened was on the moon, we discovered an artifact with some clues of another species out there called Pomelians. And this artifact within it contains some knowledge of new technology that is enabling us to be able to build this new form of starships that will allow us to explore the outer reaches of the galaxies. And hopefully maybe we can go out and find those Pomelians out there someday. But we'll see. I don't know.
So perhaps Pomelians will feature in future seasons of Pomelo.
Perhaps.
But we don't know. There's no way to know. We have to explore.
Yeah.
We have to find them.
Yeah.
Wow, that's super
But in the
exciting.
meantime, we got the astronauts. So again, the astronauts are not new. This is something I believe last season was the first season we introduced them. So for those who don't know, our Pomelo NFTs can be set as profile pictures within Pomelo. And one of the favorite ones are these astronauts. So we've created 1,000 unique Pomelo astronauts. And these are the people that are now on the moon exploring and building our starships. And maybe you see yourself as one of them as you participate in this adventure. And for those who are participating in this NFT series, I believe today is the day actually we're doing an airdrop. Anyone who's created one of those ultra rare moon bases will be receiving an airdrop of some astronauts. And then you can, again, it's going to be unique. There's 1,000. Each of them are individually unique. We haven't distributed all of them, so we're going to continue in future seasons. We have some more that we're going to continue to distribute, and you can set it as your profile picture in Pomelo, and I think they look pretty awesome. I use mine across all of my socials and things like that. It's becoming part of my identity now a little bit.
I think they're really cool and they're really cute, and I love the fact that you can mix and burn and all of that kind of fun stuff. So I think they're really great. And also, kind of arguably more importantly, they've added something like $20,000 to the matching pool. Is that right for this season?
Something like that. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but yeah. So basically, with our NFT series, 100% of the primary sales go into the matching pool. And off the top of my head, I can't recall what the target if we sell out is, but it's something like that, if not more. If we sell it, I think right now maybe we set it as the current sales, but as we sell more and more of those NFTs, all of it's going to go into so the matching pool that we have right now could actually get a little bit bigger based on the sales of those NFTs. Very
cool. I mean, one day in the future, perhaps, that could make up maybe even the lion's share of the matching pool. Wouldn't that be cool?
It's one of the things we're treating it as an experiment on. Again, we're looking to get more matching partners. How can Pomelo become sort of more independent in funding projects on Pomelo, like raising our own matching pool with our NFTs, like getting additional matching partners that are interested. So that way we're now, the EOS network, the EOS token holders aren't kind of holding all of the burden of having to fund everything on Pomelo, because the funds that come from the ENF for the matching pool are coming from inflation from other token holders. So we would take really seriously trying to create as much, make sure that there's a lot of value in it for the EOS token holders, and that we're looking for ways to reduce that burden by introducing things like this NFTs and expanding the matching partners.
I think it's really important. And as you said, because if we're spending inflation, we have to add value. Otherwise, all we're doing is making the token holders poorer over the long term. So it's really, really important. And I think to add, 20,000, whatever it may be, to the matching allocation, I would argue that you're kind of proving the experiment and it's working and it's great. I was very impressed when I saw that. So then congratulations. So has there been, could you tell me actually, how many people have applied for Pomelo Season 5 and how many have been accepted? And the reason why I ask is I'm trying to figure out, is Season 5 going to be bigger or smaller than Season 4?
Yeah, so let me see if I can quickly do the math here. But we approved so far 63. I see since the last time I looked, I have 6 more applications that came in that I haven't had a chance to review yet. We've got 18 that are in our to discuss internally column, which means we're not sure what to do exactly with these ones because there's some stuff there we don't know. I've got 3 more that I haven't yet approved that are lined up to be approved, so we can. What is that? 63 or 66 essentially that are approved. I wish there was an easy way to tally this all up, but I would say we got over 100 in total applications. We've got 16 that are in action required, a few that are denied, and like I said, 66 now.
Is that more than season 4? Do you know season 4 numbers, broadly
Off the
speaking?
top of my head, I don't have, but I would say it feels pretty similar. And one of the things I've been doing recently is looking back at all the seasons. And what I've found is that the number of applications we receive has remained relatively consistent. What has changed is the percentage of them that get approved. Over time, we're getting more and more getting approved. We had a bit of a plateau, so between season 3 and season 4, it was pretty similar, but a huge difference. So I think we approved like 170, something like that, in season 4, if my memory serves me right, compared to season 1. Again, similar number of applications. I think it was about a couple hundred applications in both seasons. Only 75 got approved in season 1. Compared to like 170 in season 4. Season 2, again, it was somewhere between there. And now we're getting to a very high percentage of the grants eventually get approved. And that I attribute to, again, the community through participating in Pomelo season over season is learning, getting better at tailoring their applications to be a public good. The quality is getting better. They're getting easier for us to approve. And as a result, more of them are getting approved. The other thing that's been changing over time, so you would expect the biggest the matching pool ever was in season 2, $888,000. This season is actually the smallest that it's ever been, at $170,000. Last season, I think we were around 350,000. So it's, I think we were 500,000 season 1, peaked at season 2, and then has been sort of dropping. Even with the dropping, we're not seeing much difference in, again, number of applicants, number of donations is actually remaining relatively consistent, which is, again, another good signal to matching partners that the matching pool can be pretty efficient in terms of even with a modest pool, it still attracts that same community collaboration, and you still get quality grants, and so Pomelo seems to be actually quite efficient at taking a modest pool of funds and generating a lot of activity around it. So hopefully, again, in future seasons, as we expand matching partners, we'll see that number go up again. The EOS token price, from what I understand, is a big factor in what has driven the decline in the size of the pool. But even if the EOS token price stays where it is, if we get more matching partners creating more pools, then we should see the overall pool that's available to builders in the space grow over time.
So I think the biggest reason why projects initially fail is because they don't get accepted on Pomelo initially, and then they usually do later on, is because they don't quite know what a public good is. So, and I know you guys have worked really hard to try and educate people on that, and it's a complex issue. I mean, Bywire usually falls foul of it when we're doing applications, and you always provide us great feedback, and we work with you, and we get it there. So it happens to everyone, or nearly everyone. So to try and help the community, I've devised a short quiz for us. So apologies in advance. So I thought we'd have some fun with this. So I'm going to basically name. I'm going to say I am X. What am I? And then you would answer you're a public good or you're exclusive and rivalrous. So for example, I might say I'm Bywire, in which case you would say a public good. Or if I said I'm a cow, you would say, well, that's exclusive and rivalrous because you're only one cow. So did that make sense?
Sure.
Okay, let's give it a go. So I use Twitter to promote EOS to my followers, and I would like funds to continue doing this work and to expand it. What am I?
You're a public good because everybody can access freely the tweets and view them and benefit from the output that you're putting out there.
I am a decentralized autonomous organization. What am I?
You're likely exclusive. Perhaps your organization has some output that could be considered a public good. So make sure if you are a DAO participating in Pomelo, you focus your grant on the specific scope of project that you want to create, rather than, I'm going to use my DAO process to determine what we're going to build, and we'll redistribute the Pomelo funds through the DAO using this process. That's not a public good. That's exclusive to the members of that DAO.
I am a decentralized autonomous community. What am I?
Is that also a DAO? I would say the same applies in that case.
What about if I'm a decentralized autonomous community or a DAC, but it's open to everyone. Anyone can join, anyone can leave at any time. There's no fees to join, like with Eden.
Again, it would depend on what it is you're pitching. If you're saying, "Hey, I'm a DAO, give me money," you would likely not get approved for that. But if as a DAO you have some specific public good that you're producing, and you clearly outline the scope of that thing that you're producing, then you would likely qualify as a public good.
I am a decentralized EOS and other crypto exchange. What am
I? Depends. If it's completely free to use, there's no fees, anyone can access it, maybe it's a public good. Maybe you do have fees, so that's, as a platform, you're not a public good, but maybe you've got some elements in your code base that would be useful as open source building blocks. So as a DEX, the DEX is not a public good, but maybe your trading engine smart contract is a public good. Make sure, as a DEX, who's not a public good, that has some element within you that is a public good, focus your grant application specifically on that building block. And you can talk about yourself as a DEX more as an example of how this building block can be used.
So let's, sticking with the DEX example, if you said, I would like to create like a DeFi smart contract, and I would like the community to fund it, I will use it for my private company. However, I will make this smart contract open source and anyone can use it freely. Would that be, what am I then?
Yeah, so that would be a public good. Again, make sure that your grant really is talking about that open source building block, like I like to call them. And feel free to, talk about your team, talk about how we, let's say Nudex. So Nudex probably doesn't qualify as a public good, but maybe, they create a grant for the Nudex trading algorithm open source. I don't know what. So make sure that's really at the top of the grant. Here's what we're building. Here's the one that's public good. By the way, we're the Nudex team. We're using this ourselves. We've proven it works. Trust us because you've seen how great Nudex is, and you should help continue to support this work. Sometimes what we often see is like on grant applications, everything's getting mixed up, and there is a public good within there somewhere, but the grant application, like you're talking about the team, you're talking about some things that are public goods, some things that are not. So it really helps get yourself approved quicker if you really compartmentalize clearly. Hey, this is what we're raising the funds for. The money is going to go for building the smart contract, for an audit of this smart contract, for documenting the smart contract. If you start saying it's going to also go towards marketing Nudex, like we want to like our legal fees to get incorporated in some thing to make us be able to more legally. Now you're mixing in public goods with non-public goods, and you likely would end up in an action required in that situation.
I am a YouTube channel covering crypto news, including EOS. What am I?
Likely a public good. So definitely a public good. Another element of getting approved on Pomelo is that it benefits the Antelope ecosystem. So again, to the degree how, if you've got like one EOS post and nothing else EOS related, maybe there's an argument today. Is this really relevant to the Antelope community? So as long as you've got enough EOS related content, you would probably qualify.
Can I ask you a question? Is it relevant to the EOS community or beneficial to the EOS community?
Beneficial is probably the more accurate. Yeah.
Okay. I am a Telegram bot, which will be made free to use for the EOS community and other communities to use. What am I?
Sounds like a public good.
I am a private social network built on the EOS network. What am
I? Depends. It sounds like it potentially could not be a public good, but unless it's completely free to access. So it's as long as anyone can join the social network without any charge, it could potentially qualify as a public good just on its own. If there is a fee, again, you got maybe there's some open source code within there that would qualify. And there are times where you could where you have aspects. Let's say, for example, I'm Twitter on EOS, and I have Twitter Blue that I charge for as a separate paid premium option. I would say Twitter is still a public good, but that feature is not. So make sure you don't use the funds you raise through Pomelo to build your Twitter Blue exclusive feature. Use it to build the features that are public goods.
I am an Antelope block explorer, free to use. What am I?
Sounds like a public good.
I am a privacy token built on EOS. What am I?
In itself, probably not a public good. Again, the token is something you would need to buy to get access to it. But again, very likely that there's some technology there that could be made open source and available as a building block that could qualify as public good.
Okay, and finally, I write a regular blog and I often discuss EOS and other cryptos. What am
I? Again, that sounds like a public good. Whether or not you benefit the Antelope ecosystem depends on the degree that you're writing about EOS and other Antelope tokens.
And so it's kind of like leading on from that, what kind of tips would you give people? Because I guess you probably answered the same question quite a lot when it comes to public good. So I wondered, this is a good opportunity to explain to the community, this is what you need to be thinking about with the public good.
Yeah, so a public good, the technical definition that we're looking for when it comes to a public good, and which sometimes gets confused. Sometimes people hear public good and they're like, it's good for the world. That makes it a public good. We're following the kind of economic definition of a public good, which means to be qualified as a public good, it's both non-excludable and non-rivalrous. So non-excludable means basically it's free for anyone to access. And non-rivalrous means there's no limit to how many people can access it. By me accessing it, it doesn't reduce the availability of that thing to somebody else. So for example, something that is non-exclusive but rivalrous that we often see on Pomelo, I've got a free NFT airdrop, but there's a limited supply. I'm only creating 1,000 mints of this thing. I'm giving it away for free, but as soon as 1,000 people have claimed this thing, it's no longer, so that's rivalrous. It's non-exclusive, but it's rivalrous. So that would not qualify as a public good. But maybe I needed to create some smart contract to enable me to do this airdrop for this NFT series. That might be a public good. That's both non-exclusive and non-rivalrous. So making sure that you're on your grant application, you really narrow down on that piece that's both non-exclusive, non-rivalrous. That is what you're really describing in the grant application, and that you're not mixing it up with other things that don't meet that definition. And the best way to do that, and we appreciate concise grant applications because we have to review a lot of them. So the more concisely you can outline that public good right at the beginning, everything else is kind of just context to support, hey, we're Bywire. We're building, we're doing free content. By the way, this is all the other stuff that we do. You've seen us out there, blah, blah, blah. But make that public good really highlighted at the top of the grant. and clear that anything else you're talking about is more of an example of your team's reputation, but not what you're funding. So having clear, actually, like something we love to see on grant application is like, here are our funding targets. Like we're going to put, if we reach this much, we're going to build this, and this. If we reach this much, we're going to build this, and this. And we're looking through those bullet points of this, and this. Make sure that those bullet points, again, match what you described as why it's a public good, and you're not mixing in things that don't count as public goods.
Okay, so I would like to know really what kind of impact has third-party organizations such as EOS Support had on Pomelo, and what kind of role do they perform in the ecosystem?
Yeah, we love the EOS Support team. They've been participating in Pomelo from the very first season, and I think they're probably one of the most successful teams in terms of how much funds they've raised. And I'd say they play a critical role, not just for Pomelo, but for the EOS ecosystem. So, you know, we've, when it comes to platforms like Pomelo, there's the challenge of people using EOS, which is not unique to Pomelo. It's a general challenge people face when they're using anything on any of the apps running on EOS. And the EOS support team has been key in helping Pomelo users who are new to EOS get onboarded onto EOS, figure out how to set up their account, how to get it funded with some EOS, how to log in. And so they produce all kinds of great educational content that they direct people to, and they literally kind of hold people's hands through the process when they need that level of help. And they don't do it just for Pomelo, they do it for all of the people that are new to the ecosystem. So that's because joining the EOS ecosystem is the first barrier to becoming a Pomelo user. Having them there kind of lower that barrier is key in getting us more adoption on Pomelo. And then on top of that, again, I see them out there participating in the chats, helping people with questions about Pomelo because they're familiar with it. They have agents, with their ears to the ground, listening to when people are asking questions. So they've been doing a good job, even with specific Pomelo related support. And then most recently, we mentioned at the top of the show how something new they've been doing is this EOS audit report. And some of the evidence that they put together in their previous, the audit of season 4 was helpful in our putting together this, what are the rules article and potential action we could take. And I think going forward, we'll continue to see, and this is something, again, we've been getting a lot of feedback from the community that they want to see more opportunities and visibility into holding grants accountable for delivering what they promised. And right now through Pomelo, just in the UI, it's not always, we've got that last season update where you can self-report as a grant owner. Here's what I did last season. Sometimes that's embellished. Sometimes it's not true. Sometimes it's left blank. And there are donors out there who really are, their strategy for donating is, I want to only donate to grants that I've donated to previously and that have shown evidence of they're making progress on and delivering on their promises. So something that I think that this EOS audit report is going to focus more on going forward based on conversations I've had with the team is on that aspect, on following up with grants that got funded and kind of surfacing the evidence. Yep, they said they were going to do open source code. Here's the link to their GitHub repo. We checked it out. It works. It's good. They said they're going to do this, and we confirmed, yes, they're doing this. And that's going to be, a report that everyone has access to for free. And I see that they've got a grant on Pomelo this season to fund that work. And we're really excited. Again, this is something that the community has been asking for. We've been waiting for somebody outside of the Pomelo team to provide that service because our goal with Pomelo is to be as object, like we don't want to be the Pomelo team, we create an environment to let the community determine what's valuable and what should get funded. We're trying our best to stay out of the judging of, yeah, they're actually doing a good job or no, this is crap. let's let the community do that, and let's, as a Pomelo team, give the community more opportunities for them to be able to provide that feedback in a transparent way that everyone has access to. So this EOS audit report is sort of a first step. I'd love to see more and more teams doing that. Like, the more third parties we can have independently kind of watching each other and us, the more decentralized it is, and over time, hopefully find more ways to incentivize that sort of behavior.
So as we kick off Pomelo Season 5, the donation's open today. Today's Wednesday. The interview's probably going to go out a day or so later. What grade would you give yourself as the leader of Pomelo up until now? And what grade would you give Pomelo as a project as a whole? So that's a bit clunky. So, like, how would you grade yourself on the old-fashioned A to F, and how would you grade Pomelo A to F?
So myself, I'll give a B plus, and Pomelo an A. I would say on the B plus for myself, there are things I want to see happen sooner. We've been talking about bounties for a long time, for example. And we're behind on our objective to get it to market. So if I were able to get bounties out sooner, maybe I would raise my grade a little bit. But in terms of, the impact I see Pomelo has on the community, the feedback I get, maybe A is even maybe it's even an A plus, because what I hear from people who have gone through the process of getting funded, teams that were on the brink of having to shut down their shop because they couldn't afford to keep paying the bills. They came into Pomelo, they raised a little bit of money. It was able to keep the lights on, and they were able to return every season and build a reputation. And it's so again, a lot of these goals we had for what we envisioned what Pomelo would do for the ecosystem are really coming true. Lots of opportunity to keep getting better, but I think it's going to keep getting better in time. But I think what we have proven is that the idea, the goal, the experiment is working, and we just got to keep moving in that direction, and it's going to just keep getting better.
Okay, so imagine then it's Pomelo Season 10. What would you like to see in terms of matching pool amounts, new features, I'm assuming bounties will be one of them, and community engagement? So where's your vision? Double the amount of time in the future. Where are we with Pomelo?
Yeah, so I'll keep it pretty high level, because I don't know what the exact features would look like, but I would say the vision is that over time, Pomelo becomes more and more operated by the community. We mentioned at the beginning how us as a Pomelo team, for example, avoid creating grants on Pomelo because there's potential conflict there. I would love to get to a place where that conflict doesn't exist anymore, because the tools have been put in place to allow the community to self-govern this thing. And that there are checks and balances in place and all that sort of stuff. And different community members are serving different roles. And, for example, helping to review grant applications, helping us set the rules, helping us review that the rules are being followed. These are sort of all different roles that we would love over time to have the community more involved in participating in those roles. How exactly we get there, still to be determined. But I would say that's a big objective. The matching pool. Yeah, I would love to see a place where every season there are millions of dollars available for people to claim. And we have a diverse set of matching partners for different causes, so that there's opportunities for everyone, no matter what type of thing that they're building. There's a pool there probably that you can fit into, and you have an opportunity to raise some money and start building that reputation. And in terms of getting the community more involved, some basic features that, again, hopefully we don't have to wait 10 years for this. We're probably going to see these much sooner. More ability, we talked about ability to do ratings on bounties. Would also love to be able to have some of that sort of concept when it comes to grants too. So, donating is one way to signal, that you support a grant, but how do you signal the opposite of support on a grant? Like, again, calling someone out on the fact that, hey, you said you were going to do this, but you didn't. Right now, the only way to do that is in the Telegram chat or whatever. So creating ways, and again, these audit reports are one way, but how can we build some more of that type of thing right into the platform and give people the opportunity to give each other feedback, rate things on, rate the quality of the, your last season update, for example. Yes, you said you were doing this, and I agree you did. So over time, hopefully we'll see more and more of those types of features that, again, just brings more transparency and ability for the community to self kind of organize and report.
Sounds great. I can't wait for Pomelo season 10. So I know I've kept you way longer than I should have. So I just got 2 questions and then we'll wrap up. So I really appreciate all of your time today. Thank you so much. You're obviously exceptionally busy this week. So very, very kind of you to give up your time. So the last 2 questions are, tell me about the most problematic experience you've had with Pomelo so far. And that could be in any format. And also tell me about the single best thing you've experienced in Pomelo so far and why to both.
Most problematic thing. I guess, so, we get some drama sometimes around, and it's, again, especially when it comes to, there's money on the line. Pomelo team does our best to be, again, as neutral as possible in the decisions we take. Sometimes there are accusations that we're targeting certain people because of certain opinions or whatever, which generates, a lot of negative sentiment in the community. There are, and we see that when we disqualify grants, we see that when we don't approve a grant, and unfortunately, sometimes there's some toxicity that comes out in the chats, but something that we, accept that's a part of human nature. There's money on the line here. It's gonna, not everyone's gonna be happy with the result. But we hope that people, believe that they see what we're doing and acknowledge that we're doing the best we can to be as neutral as possible and apply the rules evenly for everybody. So again, and sometimes we have to take it's not fun disqualifying grants and having to, not approve them. I see all the EOS community members as friends that I really want them all to succeed. But again, it's not fair to the other grants that are playing fair if we don't take action in certain cases. So again, never fun to take action, but it's necessary. And for the most part, I think the community appreciates it. Obviously, sometimes the ones that are impacted don't, and sometimes they disagree. And something we want to get better at is that appeal process and bringing more transparency to how do we make our decisions and why. Sometimes we have to be very, we can't share a lot of the information and sometimes the reason behind donating for privacy reasons. Like, again, for example, we don't want to disclose who reported somebody, but we have clear evidence that it was legit. Sometimes that leads to, where's the evidence? Show me the evidence. Sorry, we can't share the evidence. There's private information there that we can't share. You're going to have to just trust us. Over time, we would love to create a system where there can be more transparency on that stuff. We're still figuring out where the right place to draw the line is and how to do that in a way that's, again, fair and doesn't compromise anybody's privacy. In terms of the great moments, I sort of touched on this, it would be, the conclusion of a season, the private messages that I get from donors or from grant owners to share their experience and how impactful Pomelo was for them and their business. One great distillation of this is if you check out the EOS Nation YouTube channel, there's a playlist we created of Pomelo testimonials. This is something the .gems team put together for us on the 1-year anniversary of Pomelo. We had people submit videos explaining, hey, what does Pomelo mean for me? What did it do for me? And put together a nice little series of videos, and watching those, like, that's really what makes me come to work every day working on Pomelo. It's creating these opportunities for the builders in our space, and to really work on the things that they're passionate about, and get that signal from the community on what the community cares about, so that they can tailor what they're building to meet the needs of the community.
Well, Daniel, thank you so much for your time. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but I think this has been our best interview yet. I've really, really enjoyed it. And I think also, on behalf of the EOS community, I would like to thank you for all the contributions you've made to EOS, and also all the fantastic work you've done with Pomelo. As from one of those projects that relies on Pomelo, I want to give you a really sincere thank you, because the work you guys have done has been exceptional. You have pretty much done everything you would said you would have done, albeit with bounties being slightly late, but we'll forgive you. But on the whole, honestly, I think Pomelo is one of the greatest innovations, and I cannot wait for the bounties, the job boards, and redefining and keeping that EOS ecosystem going. So big, massive thank you from everyone at Bywire and everyone in the EOS community. And yeah, we can't wait to see what happens with season 5 and onwards. So thank you so much for everything, Daniel.
Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate the kind words. Like I said, it's this thing that keeps me going. So love to hear it. And thank you for all the work you're doing on promoting the EOS ecosystem with Bywire. So appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to your audience, and looking forward to participating in Pomelo this season. Good luck with your grant in season 5.
Thanks so much, Daniel. Good luck with everything. I'll speak to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.